This video is sponsored by Raycon, more on that later.
Hi, happy Monday. I was in LA last month and my manager mentioned that Brendan Schaub always performs in the area and we should check and see if he's doing stand-up while I'm still visiting. If you don't know Brendan Schaub, he is a well-known comedian that is as unfunny as he is a bad person. He has some of the lowest scores in IMDb history for both of his comedy specials, and his very own subreddit has turned on him and has now become a very popular hate page just because of how unlikable he is. If you're interested in some much-needed context for this video, you should check out my video I made about a month ago on Brendan Schaub's famously unfunny comedy special. But is it possible that I would be so lucky to see him in person, in the flesh? A simple question that quickly became a reality when we learned that the following night Brendan would be performing among several other stand-up comics at the Improv, a legendary comedy club in Los Angeles. We immediately snagged our tickets and we met up at 8 p.m. the following night for the show. The energy was unmatched as we walked into a club that every comedy great had performed at. As we took our seats in the back of the club, the first comic came up and the show began. There were 7 comedians on the roster and Brendan was slated to go fourth, so we had to wait a little bit before we could see the gringo Poppy in the flesh. I ordered nachos for the table too. As the second comic walked onto the stage, something severely unexpected happened. His name was Harland Williams and he graced the stage with what had to be like the weirdest comedy routine I'd ever seen. I'll include some examples here of other performances he's done so you can see just how odd it is.
We gotta laugh, huh? We getting that right, my child? We gotta laugh. Sir, if you could just look away, I'm doing a show. How are you, Freddy Krueger Jr.? You doing okay? How are you, guy? You doing okay? Great to see you, chocolate milkshake teeth. You okay? I took a bath. Sir, if you could just look away. Sir, if you could just picture me naked right now. But we gotta laugh, don't we, ma'am, huh? We don't know how long we got, guy. I see you over there staring at me like a little lost koala wandering through a burnt-out eucalyptus patch. I don't know if you watch the news at all, buddy, if you're busy laying in your IKEA bunk bed eating pomegranates.
But a lot of his routine was just pointing at members of the audience and saying like nonsensical things. And it didn't really seem like the audience was in on the joke either. It was just like this old white dude who seemed confused on what comedy was. Like he didn't really understand the whole setup and punchline thing. He was just sort of delivering the punchline and he would just be like, gobble-de-doo, double-de-doo. And then he'd like think that he fucking killed it. So that was bizarre. That felt like we were in an episode of The Twilight Zone. Now with that nightmare out of the way, the night continued and the eagerness for Brendan to grace the stage rose with every minute and every joke told. Luckily, we only had one more comic before Brendan and then we were finally relieved of our duties that night. That set ended and it was finally time to see Brendan. I grabbed the edge of my seat with the pent-up tension that entered my body as my expectations were shot down so many times. But once again, as the host introduced the next comic, it was not Brendan Schaub who came up on that stage. We looked at each other with confusion and frustration, exasperation, but we continued to watch the show. As the waitress came over, I ordered a cocktail to ease my mind and settle in for what was going to be the set of a lifetime. The host went back up on the stage and he introduced the comedian that was supposed to be the last comedian of the night. I was devastated. I couldn't believe that we were going through this again, but I buckled in and I waited because I knew that there was a pot of gold at the end of this rainbow. The rainbow being a myriad of like middle of the line comedians who I wouldn't really recommend if you were going to see a night of laughs. There were a couple good ones in there, but honestly, I was like really disappointed. It was not great. It was not a great night. And that was before Brendan came on stage. The comic finished his set, the host entered stage left, and as I turned my head to the right, I saw something in the darkness. A silhouette of a man. 15 feet away from me, he towered over the general audience, gazing towards the front of the stage. It was him, Brendan Schaub, right in front of me. And now you ask? Now we get to have some fun. Brendan starts the set with this hilarious joke about how sexy the host is, utilizing his classic bit that I call, ha ha, gay funny. Even better, he tells this joke by reusing a joke straight from his special. And he doesn't just retell the joke, but he uses the exact same cadence.
We locked down. You want to lock down together, brother? Just want to see what we could do. I like play video games and hang out and fuck each other. We'd like play video games all day. We'd work out. At night, we'd fuck each other.
He also revisited this joke like multiple times within the set and just kept talking about how bad he wanted to have sex with the host, which is funny because Brendan is so straight. So how funny would that be if he had sex with a man? How funny is that? That's so funny. His first real joke is explaining why he showed up late to his set. And he says it was because he was at a restaurant. He said, and I quote,
I was at fucking Laurel Hardware. This is how you know crime's getting bad in LA. This is how you know fucking crime is fucking getting lit in LA.
a normal thing that normal people say about crime, right? He explains that there's signs all over the restaurant that say, protect your cell phone, be safe with your cell phone.
So I see the manager, Enrique. I'm like, dude, what the fuck do you want on cell phones? He goes, some new hustle, man. Yeah, I guess they're stealing cell phones.
Now, I did some research and there's no Enrique that manages a Laurel Hardware. I actually sent them an email and I called the restaurant to see if I could confirm that, but I did not get a response from them and they just didn't answer their phone. Let me try calling them right now.
Thank you for calling. This is how can I help you?
Hi, I was just calling on behalf of a friend. I was wondering if you happen to have a manager at your restaurant named Enrique?
Not that I know of, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's totally fine. That's all I needed to know. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Oh. She's like, everyone keeps asking me if Enrique works here. Okay, so there's one Laurel Hardware in LA. I just called them and they confirmed that there's no Enrique that works there. Hey, maybe I'm missing something in the cracks of the story, but also maybe this just didn't happen.
I do have to stop and say that I do know that comedians change names for jokes all the time. But with Brendan Schaub's history and then what you'll see later in this set, he has the tendency to just completely make up stories that are easy to fact check. And usually you change names in a story if like you want the person to stay anonymous, but this is literally just a story about him talking to the manager of a restaurant. But we don't have proof, so we can't throw him in the comedy slammer for this one. But I personally know that it's not true.
This feels like some sort of attempt at pretending that he has like some kind of connection to a big fancy restaurant in LA. Like he's one of those guys that gets to eat behind a velvet rope in the back of the restaurant with his ragtag group of middle-aged men who hate their families. But no, Brendan Schaub lives in Los Angeles, so he definitely does not have the star power to be on a first name basis with one of the managers at a popular restaurant in Los Angeles. This may seem like a minor detail that I'm blowing out of proportion, but lying about small details and big details too is like a very common theme in Brendan Schaub's repertoire when it comes to comedy. You know how every comedian has that like thing that they do? Bill Burr is like always angry at everything. Well, Brendan Schaub's thing is just that he lies. Okay, but everyone settle in because this is Schaub's first big punchline. Enrique says that people are stealing cell phones now. It's the new hustle, so people should be careful. And here comes Schaub with the friggin' home run hitter. Here comes his joke.
It's not too bad. I mean, steal my cell phone. Enjoy those dick pics, fellas. I don't have a bad dick pic.
So listen, guys, I know it's definitely illegal to put a clip from a private comedy show in my public YouTube video. I know you're not allowed to record at those shows, but legally, I will say that I hired a Brendan Schaub impersonator to stand on a makeshift improv stage in front of an audience that I hired to copy what he said to make it sound real. It's like when they recreate murder scenes on Dateline NBC, but instead it's with a mediocre comedian telling bad jokes to an audience that is too drunk to understand how unfunny the joke actually is. So I definitely did not have voice memo on my phone on the table during Brendan's set, and the audio clips that you will be hearing during this video are completely fabricated and not true, and because I said that, Brendan cannot sue me or get me banned from the Improv in Los Angeles, California. Because I did not do that. I would never do something illegal. So then he finishes this awesome joke by talking about how he never took a bad dick pic, and he does a whole joke about having the lighting down and the angle right. A joke that has literally been done dozens of times in the 2010s, and I constantly watched YouTube skits about it when I was like in 6th grade. Then he starts a joke about how his wife says that she feels safe around him. But it's funny, because even though he looks strong, he's not strong.
Bitch, you better run. I know I look tough, I'm not.
And he would run from his wife if someone tried to mug them in the street. A very new and refreshing joke from Brendan, acting like he doesn't care about his wife. And he continues this joke by saying, "Why do you think I wear these tight-ass pants?" I have to use the cadence that Brendan talks in, because as I will show you in this video, he likes to use that cadence a lot.
Why do you think I wear these tight-ass pants, dog? Bitch, you better run. Back in the 90s, the Wild West. Who drinks it for taste? Well, bitch, it is July. My lockdown's different, y'all. Dude, I think you're looking at Fauci all wrong. That's how you look at Fauci, dude. Just kidding.
That's his idea of telling a funny joke, is like saying something in this weird voice that he does. He says the tight ass pants are for function and not fashion, and it's so he can run away from the crime.
You think this is for style? This is function, bitch. I fucking sprint my ass out of this crime.
So he's saying that he's wearing the tight ass pants so he can run away from his wife if they get mugged. But why would tight ass pants give you the function to run faster? Am I confused? Am I dumb? He transitioned to another joke by just saying, I got COVID, I'm gay, that's cool. And then he did that thing that people do when they tell an unfunny joke where they immediately go, anyways, and so then the audience knows that they should laugh at the joke because awkward, you didn't mean to say that.
I got COVID, I'm gay, that's cool. Anyways,
He starts talking about how he started working with a therapist, which is great. And he explains that when he met with the therapist, she wanted him to know that she's worked with other big names. So she hinted to him that her client wears scarves and that he was in Pirates of the Caribbean. And he responded to his therapist by saying,
in some pirate movies, he wears a scarf. I'm like, bitch, you talking about Johnny Depp, bitch? Yeah, Johnny Depp's therapist. It's not good.
no, Brendan, that's very illegal to tell your clients. And also, why would she feel the need to validate herself by saying she works with Johnny Depp out of all the celebrities she could pick? And then he has a very tasteful joke about how he doesn't want to have the same therapist as a guy who doesn't leave his girlfriend who shits in his bed. Very classy, Brendan.
His girl shit in his bed. And he stayed with her.
Then Brendan shows that he's a rebel by saying that he's gonna tell a joke that his mom is really not gonna like.
My mom's gonna hate this, but fuck it.
Also, before I continue, Brendan is also just like not a talented public speaker. I just think out of all the things that he has the ability to do, stand-up comedy is not the right avenue for him. He fills out his planned out stand-up bits with so many of the same exact fillers that it just gets frustrating to watch.
He's a lizard person, we know this. Anyways, so... I'm going bad on Dallas, he's a hero. Anyways, he's such a bad person. Anyways, he, all right.
So then his story about his mom that she's gonna hate so much is that she steals. She's a thief. She stole 17 tweezers from CVS and sent him a picture of them. Then Brendan said to his mom, "Mom, you don't need 17 tweezers." And she said,
they don't need all these tweezers.
and then the crowd erupted in laughter. Yes, so the joke is that I guess it's funny that his mom had that absurd excuse for stealing 17 tweezers. I don't really know if that qualifies as the correct explanation for this really lame joke, but that's kind of all I can put together right now. He starts going through a list of all the things that she steals, and then he finally says, "Ladies, if you're not careful, he'll steal your man too." And then he calls her the Tinder swindler and then cracks up at his own joke.
My mom's the Tinder swindler? It's so good.
Oh, and then he repeats again that his mom is gonna hate this joke.
She's gonna hate this bit.
Then he claims that his mom sold her TV when the pandemic started to save money, so she had no idea what was going on when all the rioting and looting started happening. She called Brendan and said, quote,
"It's fucking lit out here today."
Now I feel like a lot of these jokes that Brendan tells could be delivered well enough by a comedian who is like a master at delivering a joke, but they're not that funny on paper, and then when you mix it with Brendan's actual performance, it just doesn't feel genuine and the jokes have no rhythm or flow to them. I can tell when Brendan's lying about a story. I can tell when he has this improvised bit lined up with some member in the audience. And I can tell when he also just laughs at his own jokes because he's trying to fill the awkward silence of a joke that didn't really land with the audience. His current event jokes don't feel fresh and on the spot. They feel like they're rehearsed and they're 2 years old, because they are. So many of these jokes were so obviously written in 2020, but because Brendan has probably bombed so many of his jokes since then, he has to scrape by with what made people laugh before so he can fill out this 25-minute comedy set. He then tells everybody that his mom is a raging alcoholic, but doesn't preface that joke by saying that his mom is gonna hate it like he did with the other jokes. Brendan told another joke about his mom, and it doesn't even matter what the joke was because he mentioned that his mom is gonna hate the joke 3 more times.
Is that too much? My mom's gonna hate this. Is that too much? Well, fuck it. Now I'm here. Listen, my mom My mom's gonna hate it, fucker. My mom's gonna hate that. What can you do?
And you want to know what this awful joke was that his mom hates so much? It's about how his mom likes wine from 7-Eleven. Whoa, Brendan, you gotta pull the reins in on this one. You've gone too far. Your mom may be a raging alcoholic who wasn't good at raising you, but 7-Eleven wine? Now that's too far, man. I didn't even know he could say that. Let's take a second to talk about the sponsor for this video, Raycon. What is that, guys? Isn't that disgusting? Is that gross or what? Let me tell you about something cool. Look here. These right here are Raycon's everyday earbuds. And if you're looking for earbuds that sound great and are in your budget, these are the ones for you. Raycon's everyday earbuds have optimized gel tips so you can listen to music without them falling out of your ears, because that's lame and embarrassing and everyone's gonna make fun of you for that. They offer 8 hours of playtime and a 32-hour battery life. That's like half a day you can spend just sitting there watching my videos right in your ears. And these babies are like half the price of other leading premium audio brands, so you can get that good quality at a good price. But don't just take it from me, Raycon's everyday earbuds have over 50,000 5-star reviews. I really love the touch features on these earbuds that allow me to stop and start the music, change the volume, go back and forth between songs. I can even take my business calls on these things. The earbuds are also water and sweat resistant, so you can work out just like me and the sweat won't ruin your earbuds. So if you want to join me and look just as good, go to buyraycon.com/nickgreen to get 15% off your purchase. Thank you to Raycon for sponsoring this video. Let's get back to the fun. After that joke, he transitions into the next part of his set by saying,
Listen, I love seeing everybody out without masks.
and then his intro into the next set is one of those jokes where he goes, I knew the pandemic was over when ... which is just a snore of a joke in July of 2022. I knew the pandemic was over when jokes are gonna be the new airplane food jokes in like 20 years. Every time a comedian says, I finally knew COVID was serious when ... George Carlin rolls in his grave. Then Brendan does this big joke about how the mayor of LA is a piece of shit, and during the pandemic, he was shoving masks down people's throats. But then, one day he was seen taking a picture next to Magic Johnson, and he didn't have a mask on. Brendan sort of sits there and waits for the audience to lose their minds over that fact, but there wasn't a joke, he just talked about something that happened. So then he continues by saying, guys, even I would wear a mask next to Magic Johnson. Now, the joke, I assume, is one, Brendan Schaub doesn't like wearing masks, so something seriously has to be wrong in order for him to wear a mask next to someone. And two, the reason he would have to wear a mask next to Magic Johnson is because he has AIDS. And so the joke, I assume, is that he's afraid that he would get AIDS by standing next to Magic Johnson. Funny enough, we don't even have to guess what the joke is, because the audience didn't find it that funny, so he proceeds to actually explain to the audience that the joke is because Magic Johnson has AIDS.
Come on. AIDS. Anyway, so
Another classy home run hitter by Brendan Schaub. Also, he keeps on repeating that this is when he knew the pandemic was over. Is he aware that just because we aren't required to wear masks indoors anymore, that doesn't mean that the pandemic itself is over? But he continues to talk about how the mayor's excuse for taking a picture maskless next to Magic Johnson was that he was holding his breath while he was taking the photo. And funny enough, Brendan didn't actually lie about this. This was a real headline. The issue was that he didn't tell a joke about the headline. He sort of just explained what it was, and then he was just like, oh, are you kidding me? That's crazy that he said he was holding his breath. How crazy is that? And I guess this would make sense if this just happened and he wanted to just bring it up to the audience because it's a funny headline, but this happened 5 months ago. And I would say that a 5-month-old current events COVID joke is dated, but it is honestly probably the most up-to-date joke that he told the entire night. So then he goes back to gay jokes and he talks about how the weatherman for KTLA was definitely a porn star and how you can see his dick through his pants because it's probably so big.
see his dick through the fucking suit. You're all...
Brendan then transitions into a very hilarious and original joke about how being a weatherman in LA is the easiest job in the world because it's always sunny. I just can't crack how Brendan came up with that one. I can just imagine Brandon in his man cave with his quill trying to muster up a good joke and just stumbling across the most genius and thoughtful joke of this entire generation. It's got the nuance, it's got the hard-hitting facts, and most of all, it's not afraid to tell it how it is.
Weatherman, LA. So Sunny?
It would be easy to be a weatherman in LA because it's always sunny. That's the thing about LA, is that it's got nice weather, so being a weatherman would be easy. It would be an easy job. How funny is that? Because you wouldn't have to say anything different besides the fact that it's sunny outside. So that's a funny idea that the weatherman would never. I don't know if you remember this from my last Brendan Schaub video, but I showed a clip of him talking on one of his podcasts about how in his new special, he was originally going to go in on California's governor, Gavin Newsom, because he hates him so much.
Now I rip Newsom up a little bit in the special.
Oh, you do?
Rip him up a little bit.
There you go. Well, I think it'll go well,
Yeah.
Brennan.
Yep.
And, you know, if you don't like it, suck it.
Yeah, suck it.
Now, he may not have done this in his YouTube special, but Brendan actually did come to play in person with some Gavin Newsom-based material. And that material actually just ended up being more gay jokes about how Gavin Newsom might be horrible, but his hair is perfect and he's super sexy. And underneath that suit, he's got a big old government dick.
Newsom's fucking fine, right? And you know what? I fucking know it deep down. Is that big, juicy government dick. I fucking know it.
This is literally the second time in 1 minute, I checked, it was a 50-second window, where Brendan Schaub made a joke about a public figure having a huge penis and being very sexy. He then goes right back into COVID jokes, talking about how Newsom wants to lock us down, and he continuously keeps saying how badly he doesn't want to lock back down. It's literally not even a comedy routine at this point. It's just like a rinse and repeat of Brendan being upset at things that might happen in the future. Brendan then does this exact copy of a joke that he did in his special on YouTube about how much he hates lockdown with his kids and their demons, and his wife's a bitch, and you know how it goes.
I would rather do anything else with my life than be locked down with those fucking demons 24/7. I would rather do anything else than be locked down with those fucking demons 24/7.
I don't know why you would just take material from your most popular comedy special that millions of people have seen and then reuse it for like a good third of your set in person. Maybe if it was like a really funny joke and it was one of your classics, it would be good to show it to some people who might have shown up to see other comics and don't know who you are. But it's a joke about hating COVID lockdowns, and he's already done jokes about that in his set that weren't in his comedy special. So why would you bring up another COVID lockdown joke from a special that most of the people in that room have probably already seen? Then Brendan talks about how he really wants to get monkeypox, even though there are 2 other times earlier in the set where he mentioned that he was terrified of getting monkeypox.
Monkeypox, am I right? That shit scares me. Yeah, I get it. Monkeypox here's the fuck out of me too, girl.
And he said that he's not with us when it comes to wearing masks for COVID, but he's so terrified of monkeypox that he's willing to wear a mask for it. But now I guess he wants to get monkeypox. Now I guess that's his goal.
I'm with you on monkeypox. I'm hoping I get it.
He also seems to think that monkeypox is just another COVID variant because he says, I've had all 3 variants and I'm going for all 4. And then he says, once I'm all antibodied up, I'll do anything. And then he tells a male audience member that he'll lick his face and lick his asshole, which I guess is like an anti-mask and a gay joke rolled into one. And then he continues to bring up COVID even more, and he brings up Anthony Fauci. You guys remember Anthony Fauci? It's COVID Tony. You know COVID Tony. He's the guy that told us about COVID. COVID Tony, you know him. So Brendan's joke is that you should treat Anthony Fauci like he's your grandfather because he's afraid of everything and gives you bullshit advice about things that you shouldn't actually be afraid about. Brendan, do you happen to be talking about the doctor that gave us advice on how to protect ourselves from a virus that killed over 6 million people? You think he was a bit too paranoid about it, Brendan? So then he started this string of anti-mask jokes where he said, my grandpa told me not to eat and swim or I'll get very sick. But last week, I just ate a ton of food and swam and I feel fine. My grandpa told me to wear a scarf outside because it's cold.
I mean, scarf? No, I'm not doing Broadway plays. I don't suck dick. I'm not fucking wearing a fucking scarf because it's cold out.
I think the joke here is that gay people wear scarves and Brendan would never get caught wearing a scarf even if it were to make him sick because he doesn't want to look like he's gay. So again, he said, I went out in the cold without a scarf and I never got sick. That's how you have to look at COVID. Legitimately, these are jokes that Brendan's telling to a crowd full of people in LA, a packed room. He's calling Fauci a grandpa and he proceeds to say the most boomer thing ever, which is basically, if it's not hurting me personally, then there can't possibly be any real consequences. So then he talks about how when he got got the original COVID variant. He knew it was bad because he got super into OJ Simpson after it happened. But he told the joke in the worst and most convoluted way I could imagine, where I didn't even know what he was saying by the end of his sentence.
When he talks about long-lasting side effects of the original COVID-19, not these new variants, I'm talking about that original bat soup hitter. COVID. I don't know where that came from. That fucking bat soup hitter. Because your boy got it last January. Your boy got it just last January. 3 weeks later, explain this, improv. 3 weeks later, I get that original COVID-19 bat soup hitter. 3 weeks later, I'm obsessed with OJ Simpson.
And then he proceeds to do the final bit of the night, which is entirely about, get this, entirely about OJ Simpson's Twitter. Yes, you remember when over 2 full years ago, OJ Simpson, former football player and murderer, was like all the talk on Twitter. It happened over 2 years ago and literally nobody remembers or cares about it at all anymore. Oh, there are an infinite number of crazier things that have happened since then, and it's one of the worst jokes you could tell now because not only is it 2 years old, but everyone already experienced it and they don't need you to explain it to them. Well, geez, when you put it like that, it's almost like it's not a good joke to tell. So then Brendan lies about having a signed OJ jersey on his wall that he bought for super cheap because no one wanted a signed OJ jersey. And then he goes on to explain what OJ does on Twitter. Now, if you're not aware, because it was so long ago, OJ Simpson became very popular on Twitter because he joined the platform. He just started posting videos every day of him talking, and they were pretty funny. But then they stopped being funny because that's how time works. You do something for 2 years and it doesn't become popular anymore. It's not relevant at all. It's like the equivalent of talking about the Will Smith slap in 2 years. And Brendan just has this way of telling a story that makes it so much longer than it needs to be. He repeats things a million times, constantly stumbles over his words, rephrases things. And did I mention that he repeats things also?
I follow him on Twitter. Do we follow OJ Simpson on Twitter? You gotta follow OJ Simpson. Where was I? Oh, you gotta follow OJ Simpson. It is the most entertaining follow on social media. But as far as entertainment factor, there's none better. Where was I? Oh, you gotta follow Jay Simpson. Every morning, I wake up every fucking morning. Every morning, I wake up him going. Every morning, he posts, but he posts 7 days a week. 7 days a week. Uncle Juice. You get a video from Uncle Juice, man. I need Uncle Juice. Uncle OJ himself. You get a fucking quality video from Uncle OJ himself. Every morning I wake up him going, hello, Twitter world. I'm like, fuck yeah, what's up, King? Every morning, hello, Twitter world. Hello, Twitter world. Hello, Twitter world. Hello, Twitter world. Hello, Twitter world.
As I said in my last Brendan Schaub video, repetition is a big pillar of stand-up comedy, and it can elevate a joke for a lot of stand-up comedians to be legendary if used correctly. Brendan Schaub never uses repetition correctly. His repetition comes off as unconfident and scattered instead of using it to build up to something hilarious. And then he proceeds to tell us a Tiger King joke about OJ Simpson tweeting that Carol Baskins was a murderer.
Was that Carol Baskins? Definitely a murder if I've ever seen one.
Legitimately, you are closing your set with a joke about OJ Simpson's Twitter and Tiger King during the pandemic? Was the reason for Brendan Schaub's tardiness because he fell into a time machine? And then he goes on to explain how OJ tweeted about the Will Smith slap 1 minute after it happened.
1 minute later after he got slapped, Uncle OJ, this is the quality content you get. 1 minute later he goes, hello, Twitter world.
He said that OJ said that he was proud of Will Smith because he wanted to slap a lot of the reporters during his murder trial. He also said that OJ said,
because you know how many of those reporters love to slap when I was going through my situation? I do a lot more than slap.
Not only did OJ Simpson obviously not post that video 1 minute after the Will Smith slap because the video of him talking about it was outside during the day, but also that's not what happened. Here, I'll compare what both of them said side by side.
I'm proud of Will Smith.
It was unfortunate. I think Will was wrong.
I'm proud of Will Smith. Must have felt good to slap Chris Rock, who was criticizing him.
Every comedian in the country had an OJ routine, and I wouldn't want to be slapped a couple of those guys, but you got to accept it's humor.
Because you know how many of those reporters love to slap when I was going through my situation. I do a lot more than slap.
Brendan claims that OJ sells a steak knife dinner set online that's $15.99, and Brendan has 9 sets of them. But may I surprise you with a fact? That's not real either. OJ never sold a steak knife dinner set. How could we never see this coming from Brendan Schaub, the guy who never lies about anything? Now, I'm not saying that we need to like outlaw lying in comedy or something. I think some of the best stand-ups of all time are known for stretching the truth when it comes to the stories they tell. But they get away with it and they are praised for it because the parts that they lie about actually elevate the story and make it way funnier than it was before. Brendan doesn't just twist the details to elevate his comedy, he lies about the whole thing because there's nothing else interesting for him to muster up and talk about on stage. Every funny thing that we're supposed to laugh at is just completely fabricated by Brendan, and it's somehow still not funny. He can make up anything that has happened in pop culture or news and just say it was true, and he's choosing things that aren't even that funny. And he's not even making jokes about them. The whole joke is that he's saying it happened. I guess that's the joke. And finally, with a heavy heart, we have arrived at Brendan's final joke of the night, which is about a 4th OJ Simpson tweet. I know, somehow we're still talking about OJ Simpson's Twitter. It shouldn't be illegal, but here we are. He said that his favorite tweet of the whole pandemic is OJ's tweet about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. If you said that sentence 50 years from now, no one would have any idea what you're talking about. He says that if you go to his Twitter profile right now, his comedy special isn't even pinned to his profile. It's this OJ tweet. But no. Brendan once again lies to the audience right to their face. Am I like going insane? If you go to his Twitter, it is his comedy special. His comedy special is pinned to his profile. There's no OJ tweet. OJ doesn't even tweet. He just posts videos. And yeah, I know that's a tweet, but he says them as if he's writing them down. They're all videos. Am I going crazy? Does Brendan think that this is a normal thing in comedy? Telling jokes to an audience that can immediately be fact-checked is false. Usually when you lie, you don't make it easy for an audience member to check. But he literally asks us to check. He says, go to my Twitter profile.
If you go to my profile right now, my new special, the Gringo Poppy's not fucking pinned on there. It's OJ Simpson's vaccination tweet.
And I went to his Twitter profile. It's like he wants the audience to know that he's bullshitting everything that comes out of his mouth. And then he proceeds to say,
this is a real tweet from your uncle, OJ Simpson. It's a real tweet.
Twice. He says that twice. I'm just gonna play out my fake audio recording of Brendan Schaub telling his final joke of the night. I'll let him explain this legendary tweet to you.
Hello, Twitter world. Man, y'all pissing me off. Y'all need to get vaccinated. It's easy. You go in, you get stabbed. On the video it said hashtag get stabbed. Fuck, dude. You know, his agent next morning was like, Bubba, you know, I believe you. You know, it's cool. Don't use that hashtag though, right? Don't use that fucking hashtag. Improv, that's my time. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. That was the show. That was Brendan Schaub live. I don't know why I'm surprised, but I can certifiably say that this set was even worse than Gringo Poppy. There was no way to cut out his mistakes. There were these awkward audience interactions. He took way too long to tell jokes to the point where I didn't even know what the joke was. And most of all, his shit was outdated and unfunny. Every single joke came out of a comedy set from 2020, and even back then, those jokes wouldn't have been funny. Now, obviously, I did not like sitting through that dumpster fire of a comedy set, but I'm happy to say that as your trusty soldier, I was able to get the intel to share with you all, and that is a success in my heart. Thank you all for watching this video, and remember to go down below to do all that fun stuff that you have to do to support me and what I do. We have a couple more weeks on the pre-orders for the Nick is Not Green Happy Monday dad hats, so make sure you snag those up before they're gone forever. Also remember to check out my new song Not Good Enough, which is on all streaming platforms now. Links to that will be in the description down below, or you can just go on Spotify and look up Denton Not Good Enough. Thank you again for giving me your time and watching my videos. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a wonderful week. Bye.